I guess while we're running down to go level up these weapons, we can talk about Joppa's stream last night. So I'm going right now just to level these weapons up, and it's going to be kind of a long run. I haven't maxed these out. So let's talk about Joppa's stream from last night while we run down there. The stream started out, let me turn that volume down a little bit. The stream started out, they talked about PvP a little bit. So PvP will have a 2-week announcement prior to it actually going live. So you don't have to worry about, when is PvP coming? They are going to give an announcement for that, and it's going to be a 2-week announcement ahead of time. About 10 minutes in, Joppa talked about the max level of the game because people are starting to hit over level 40, hitting level 41 and 42. And he said that the current max level is level 50. The current obtainable max level is level 50. However, post level 40, it becomes very, very difficult to get. That is due to the exponential amount of XP that you need, and also just the mobs that are in the game that you can actually kill to gain XP with. So the max is technically 50, but getting anything over 40 is not what they're looking for right now, and not what they're kind of supporting at the moment. Let's see, coins. Coins was a huge issue. So, I shouldn't say issue, a huge topic of discussion during the stream. It went on multiple different times in the stream, and it lasted for several minutes each time. But the first time they talked about the coinage was around 13-minute mark, and they're basically saying that money is hard to find in the game except for a few select places, and that scrolls and skills, especially at higher levels, are very, very expensive, and kind of go overing that. So the main point is that right now there is a lot of extra money on things like the ghost in Haunir Cave. That is going to be nerfed eventually, and things are going to be adjusted. Instead of talking about it later on, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it a little bit more now of what he talked about later. But it continued, the topic continued around the 2-hour mark again about coins and all of that kind of stuff. So you can look at the 13-minute mark and then all the way down again at the 2-hour mark of the stream. You'll find out that information. But yeah, coins for the ghost are going to come down a little bit. He wants to kind of balance it out between all of the enemies in the game. And one of the reasons that he's not doing that right now is because he wants to be able to do it kind of all at once, like a blanket change, and give us a way to have a reward for quest and enemies, and just say it is this level, it is this difficulty, it's a group quest, it's group mob, it's a solo mob, etc. This is the amount of coin that it's going to give, and be able to go in and do kind of a blanket change. That is the goal. But a lot of people were saying, well, why can't we just fix some of these now? And he said, after kind of some back and forth with the community, that he's going to look at expediting those changes. So hopefully we start seeing those soon. But that's pretty much the end of that conversation. 17-minute mark. Wild's End is going to be having more content in the coming weeks, so start looking for it. He didn't give an exact time frame, but he did say that they are working on it, and it should be coming out, in sometime soonish. He doesn't like to give time frames anymore. Obviously, we all know why on that case. If you don't, it's because, a lot of time frames are not being met, and, it's getting people's hopes up. 19 minutes in, a PvP discussion again. So goal for the PvP is after it's out to not mess with it. So right now they're kind of doing some play testing with it, some internal play testing, trying to make sure that the PvP servers are working properly. But once it is out, it will not be messed with. There's going to be no adjusting to PvP, etc. So you don't need to worry about that. 27 minutes in, he talked about climbing. Some people were asking, what is the goal with climbing? Where are we going with that, etc.? How much climbing is needed? Those kinds of questions. And he said that there is going to be a climbing 2.0 and 3.0. And then he kind of went on to explain those two things. 2.0 is adding surfaces like slick surfaces, surface detection, down climbing, those kinds of things. And then 3.0 is going to be movement related, like sprint climbing and lunging. So look for those in the future. And then also he mentioned a little bit more of gliding. Gliding is something that is supposed to be in the game already, but their quest is kind of messed up. So something going on with that there. But yeah, we'll have more stuff on gliding in the future. The hide helm feature is definitely a feature that is coming. He talked about that at 31-minute mark. Didn't really say much else other than it is coming at some point. So look for that at some point when it comes. 37, he did talk about the team size. It has grown a little bit. They have a couple of new hires, and they're heavily focused on quest and world immersion. And the quests are for not only lore, but also for rewards. So we should start seeing some more lore and reward quests out there coming soon in the future. Line of sight issues was a topic that came up at around the 40-minute mark. So people have had line of sight issues, and they were saying that the line of sight is at the feet. I, in fact, have told people that line of sight is at the feet. Joppa corrected that and said that line of sight is actually not at the feet. It is at the eye level. So that is something new to me because it does seem like everything is based on where you are currently standing, including clicking on a player that is down and laying down on the ground. You have to click on their feet. So anyway, the consensus there is that line of sight does have issues. And Joppa did, in fact, mentioned that. He said that a lot of people have been saying that there's line of sight issues in the game, and they are looking into it. But according to all the programming side of things, the line of sight does not look at the feet, but it looks at the head. Let's see. Will all cities be available at the 1.0 start? The answer to that is probably not. So don't expect to have your characters, like in all the different cities throughout the game, at 1.0. We'll probably still have these little micro cities that we have now, like Avalia, for example, for some of the races. So that's basically what's going on with that. Druid first to get for Druid to get in. Once the Druid gets in first, then they're going to start looking at all the classes and buff them up. But specifically what I'm talking about here is the Druid is going to get specific spells that at level 30. They will go from single target spells to group target spells. So this is something that will happen across the board for every single class, and they will kind of grow with your characters. So as you get higher level, your skills and spells will start to change and modify slightly, and this is going to start with the Druid and with its spells being single target in the beginning, and then go up to group spells later on. Then he went on at around the 1 hour mark to show off the Druid abilities. I'm going to stop here for a second so I'm not running into a bunch of aggro mobs while I'm trying to run two characters here. But at the 1 hour mark, he started showing off some of the Druid abilities. He showed off the Druid single target heal with the pet. That is going to have a cooldown on it rather than a mana cost. So that is going to be how that works. The tree pulsing is going to be obtained around level 20. I think at level 20 is what he said. So the tree that you put down and it pulses the heal. And then you're going to have a seed ability that is going to further boost healing. And then a talisman ability that you put on the target. And every time anyone hits that target, they heal themselves. Those are the 3 or 4 different ways that a druid is going to heal people. So that is, something that he showed off around the hour and 2 minute mark. Spells planned to unlock at specific levels for all classes to give a feeling of power spikes as you level. So he was talking about how certain spells are going to unlock, at certain classes. You're still going to have to buy most of them, but he did talk about later on down here that you might actually have to earn spells through quests. I'll talk about that in a second. But basically there's going to be power spikes. He wants there to be a power spike at certain level ranges for different classes, and that's going to be different on each class. An example given was the healing tree at level 20. Another example was the call lightning ability, which at first only does damage, regular damage, and then later on you get an upgrade to that, which is going to be an ability upgrade that will allow you to do bonus damage while it is raining. And then later on, so let's say you get the call lightning at level 20, then you're going to get the ability to increase that damage at level 30 when it's raining. And then let's say at level 40, you don't need the rain anymore. It's just always going to be empowered. These are the different types of power spikes that he wants to see going forward. Um, Druids will not be able to control the weather. This was a question that several people have had. They are not going to get that ability. There's several reasons that he gave for that, mostly because of trolling people that are just a lot of druids in a zone and they're just going to be constantly changing the weather. He also wants it to be a mysterious thing. When a storm happens, that's when the druid gets empowered, not necessarily just be able to do it all the time. So these are kind of things that they're looking at and why they have gone to the direction that they've gone with it. So let's see, NPCs, harvestables, etc., all based on time and weather are planned. So there's going to be specific enemies. Right now, we already have specific enemies that are based on certain times of the day, specifically at night. But there are going to be enemies and harvestables and other things that are only going to be out like during the rainstorms or when it's sunny or at night. You know, all these kind of things are going to be happening and added into the game at some point. The white night wolf lichens fixed their auto attack. A lot of people were complaining that the solo level lichens were hitting for too hard. He confirmed that they were in some cases. They were hitting like a group mob, so he fixed those. That will be coming in a future patch, hopefully on Wednesday. That will be in. Abilities behind quest lines in the future. So this is another one kind of going back to the druid. So in the future, there will be some abilities that are going to be hard to obtain. Right now, we do know of some abilities that you can only get from killing monsters. In the future, there will be like questable type abilities, things that you have to do a long quest line for, and it unlocks a certain ability. These kind of things will be like the Call Lightning, extra damage in rainstorms and that kind of stuff. Summoner changes are coming, but they need a programmer available to make those adjustments. So, you know, this is why the summoner changes have not been made yet. They need a programmer to go in and be able to, you know, do some things that they need to do to make the targeting of their pets a little bit better, and all those adjustments happen. So summoner changes will be coming at some point. The idea of a wizard, according to Joppa, is basically to bring back the EQ1 wizard. That is the goal that he's going for. It is not supposed to be what it was in a previous or early access or alpha or whatever, where it was more of an active class. You were doing a lot of little powers, a lot of little hits to build up to a much bigger hit. He does not want that. He wants the wizard to hit very hard, you know, one or two or three times during a fight, and that's it. Then basically they're going to be sitting down, which is kind of what they do right now. I think that I agree with a lot of the chat in this, that does make Wizard kind of boring, but that is a certain play style for some people that do enjoy that kind of thing. So, you know, I guess that's what they're going with it, is they're trying to make different play styles for different types of people. Let's see, the 2 hour mark, we went back to the spell prices. We talked about that a little bit more. Let me stop so I can read that. Spell prices, gold drops increased, looking to get the fix expedited. Oh, the auto set, yeah, that's going to be another thing. So we went over all of that. So they want to be able to go in and basically easily adjust money across the board based on the level of the mob and all that kind of stuff. We brought up the lunar ring buff. The lunar ring was working, it seemed like, at one point. It is no longer working, or does not work at all. I don't know which one was the actual case. He did look into that. That will be hopefully fixed soon. You're just not getting the buff. It looked like it was putting the buff on and taking the buff off, continually going back and forth. So he's going to be looking at that and why it is not working. We already talked about the 2-week heads up for the PvP server. They will also give a heads up for the Druid class. So that's going to be the last thing that we talk about. The Druid is 100% definitely not coming in this week. So tomorrow, which would be Wednesday, the 18th, 19th, February 19th. It is not coming in for sure. Before the Druid does come in, they will do some sort of an announcement. It won't be like the PvP server where it's going to be a 2-week announcement. It will be just another type of announcement, maybe a couple days ahead of time, maybe a week, who knows. But they do want to do an announcement and kind of make a big deal out of the Druid being added in. That is pretty much what happened there. I don't want to give my opinion on a lot of these things. I'm going to not do that going forward. So we're just going to be giving the news as it was given to us, just to kind of make it short and sweet for you all. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking around for the summary, and hopefully I see you in the next one.